My recorder crapped out part of the way through this about Trump mocking the military his whole life and how him and his father nurtured this mindset of mocking the military and mocking American tradition. You can read this on your own. I want to get into comparing him to the guy that Ms. Gabbard says is some form of violence for some reason. So this is the Wikipedia profile of Mr. Hitler's, it's of his military career. So as you can see, his branch of service was the Imperial German Army, or Reichswehr. Okay. Now, he joined the army and he served from 1914 to 1920. Okay, he was awarded the Iron Cross First Class, the Iron Cross Second Class, Wound Badge, the Honor Cross, the Bavarian Cross of Military Merit, Third Class with swords, Bavarian Medal of Military Service, Third Class, Regimental Diploma, Regiment List. Now, what you need to understand here, compare this to Trump, who was a draft dodger, okay? So keep that in mind. And this person, and Mr. Hitler's country's hour of need, he met the call to action. He voluntarily signed up, volunteered, and served with commendation, with bravery. Okay? Mr. Trump, not so much. Okay? So this is just going over that. I'm going to move forward. Now this is former Naval Commander George Lincoln Rockwell. Now, he is another person that for some stupid reason Trump is compared to, and I think it's because a lot of Trump's policies that he promoted during his first run for office in 2016 were extremely similar to Mr. Rockwell's and extremely similar to Mr. David Duke's. Okay? But, so George Lincoln Rockwell, let's look at Mr. Rockwell's military career, because this is another person that Trump is compared to. Trump, the draft dodger, is compared to. So, Mr. Rockwell, he served in the United States Navy. He served from 1941 to 1960. He was in World War II. He was in the Pacific War and the Battle of the Atlantic. The awards that he received were the American Defense Service Medal, the American Campaign Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, European African Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, World War II Victory Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Naval Reserve Medal, Philippine Liberation Medal. He trained as a pilot and served in World War II and the Korean War in non-combat roles, achieving the rank of commander. Rockwell's politics grew more radical and vocal in the 1950s, and he was honorably discharged due to his political views. Okay, so keep that in mind. So this is another person that Trump is erroneously compared to. But you can see the difference is glaring in favor of the people that he's being compared to. So again, this is Mr. Mussolini. Okay, let's see what Mr. Mussolini, did he serve? You'll be surprised. I think he did. So let's see, going down, Prime Minister, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So yes, he served in the Royal Italian Army, and his allegiance was to the Kingdom of Italy. Okay, he was a First Marshal of the Empire, battles and wars, First World War, pacification of Libya, Second Italo-Ethiopian War, Spanish Civil War, Italian invasion of Albania, and Second World War. So Mr. Mussolini served in all of these wars. Okay, Mr. Mussolini did not shrink in the face of adversity when his nation needed him. Okay, this is another person that is compared regularly to Mr. Trump. The difference, of course, is that Mr. Mussolini was a competent leader of a competent country. Okay, that's a big difference. Now, this is another person that Mr. Trump is regularly compared to. This is a Mr. Mosley, a Sir Oswald Mosley of Great Britain. Let's see about his military service. Okay, so he was awarded the 1914 to 1915 the Star, the British War Medal, Victory Medal, British Empire, British Army 16th, the Queen's Lancers, Royal Flying Corps. Okay, so you see, he also served. He served in the Second Battle of Ypres and Battle of Loos. Okay, this is a portrait of Mr. Mosley. As you can see, Mr. Mosley was a competent Air Force person, Army Air Force person, served with decoration, and again, did not shrink from his country's moment of need, did not come up with a false foot condition. So, I also want to point out the difference between the way these people speak and the way that Mr. Trump speaks. So what you have to understand is Trump actually, this is the speech that he's being compared to Benito Mussolini and Mr. Hitler for. And as you will see, this speech is, well, if you know anything, it's far worse than anything that Benito Mussolini or Mr. Hitler said. Mr. Hitler and Mr. Mussolini tried repeatedly to unite, whereas Mr. Trump tries to divide.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections.
This rhetoric is the usual brand of bullying.
Now keep note, he's still whining about an election that he was not cheated out of. He just refuses to admit it. He knows it. They now have documents proving that he knew that he wasn't cheated out of the election. They now have documents proving that he tried to pressure people into finding votes that weren't there. They now know that. But once more, this is a guy that wants to round up anyone with a differing political view than his and make them disappear.
Pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections.
This rhetoric is dangerously familiar, and voters should heed the warning. Trump characterizes communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs, blanket terms for anyone who disagrees with his temper tantrums, as vermin, rodents, parasites, not human. You know who else considered his enemies to be vermin? Adolf Hitler. In Nazi propaganda and correspondence with world leaders, Hitler reportedly referred to Jewish people as vermin who must be destroyed. And the Washington Post noted that Benito Mussolini, the fascist Italian dictator, also used the term to dehumanize his opponents and promised his followers freedom in a similar fashion to Trump's MAGA campaigning. It's tempting to ignore Trump's repeated fear-mongering and stolen election claims, but early polls for the 2024 presidential election prove that his base is listening. And so far, they're...
Now, this is Mussolini actually speaking English. Okay, now what you're going to understand here is this is how Mussolini speaks. You will notice that Mussolini, now let me remind you, English is most likely not Mussolini's first language, being that he was an Italian socialist reformer that invented third positionism. But we're going to hear Mr. Mussolini speak, and then we're going to hear Mr. Mosley speak, and then we're going to hear Trump speak again.
To express my friendly feelings towards the American nation. Friendship with which Italy looks at the millions of citizens who from Alaska to Florida, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, live in the United States, is today deeply rooted in our hearts. This feeling, created by mutual interests, so contributed to the preparation of an ever brighter era in the life of both nations. I agree the wonderful energy of the American people, and I see and recognize among you sons of your land as well as ours, my fellow citizens, who are working to make America great.
So this is going to be Mr. Mosley speaking here. want you to focus on is the fact that these people can speak clearly and with proper English. Even Mussolini spoke with better English than Mr. Trump. So they're speaking more clearly, more directly, and they're speaking about things that matter. They're not speaking about getting even with their enemies or anything like that. That is something totally unique to the deranged mind of Donald Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, this great meeting is gathered here tonight to hear the policy and faith of fascism. If you think the present system of things can really see you through, then it's idle for our new and virile faith of fascism to come to you with a new and revolutionary conception of politics, of economics, and of life itself.
Also, notice the energy. These people are high energy people. Trump is a low energy person. He's droning off as he's speaking. Always been low energy. Always been low energy.
We have another doctrine to put before you. And now, at long last, our men of the war, our men of 1914, the grim ranks of our ex-servicemen, again and again betrayed by politicians. They join hands with the new youth, the new generation, which remembers the mighty past. We say that England is not dead. We say, and I ask you to say with us, lift up your voices in this great meeting in the heart of England. Send to all the world a message. England lives and marches on.
So once more, we're going to hear Trump's low energy, the bad people, wah, wah, wah. We're going to hear that, and then we're going to hear Tulsi Gabbard explain. I didn't watch the Tulsi Gabbard thing yet, but I like to react to them fresh, but let's go here.
Usual brand of bullying.
We pledge to you that we will.
Look at how freaking, what do you call it, passive-aggressive, narcissistic, pathetic, and low-energy Trump is compared to, say, a Mr. Mussolini or a Mr. Oswald Mosley.
Will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin.
Now, let me remind you, I've already done a series of videos that I'm going to be continuing. I interrupted it briefly about how did Trump win in the first place, and he won because many millions of Americans that identify as fascists and National Socialists and proud white Americans voted for this gentleman in the hopes that he would bring about some decent change. Now, what did Trump do when he took office? Trump implemented huge, massive Chinese communist-style wealth redistribution scams, like, for example, the platinum plan that he was thinking about doing and other things. He let tens of thousands of dangerous people out of prison, most of them people of color, okay? Now, this was done under Joe Biden, and when Joe Biden was in the Senate, Mr. Clinton enacted the Biden crime bill, which I'm going to show you in another video, but the Biden crime bill had dropped crime to all-time lows because of Mr. Clinton's sense and Joe Biden's skill at writing a good law that put people in prison that needed to go to prison, okay? Now Trump is trying to reverse course and saying that he wants to give drug dealers the death penalty. Biden's already been there, okay? Now the thing is, you have Trump trying to be the president of law and order. You know, you already had that in Clinton. Clinton was the president of law and order. We haven't had another president that was about law and order since William Jefferson Clinton. That's the truth. People might not like hearing that, but it's the truth. Trump is a pretender to law and order who let tens of thousands of dangerous criminals back onto the street as there was an active BLM Antifa insurrection that was attacking every major city in this country. And he is responsible because he didn't do anything about it. Now he wants to reverse course and act tough, but he's not acting tough on the people that were attacking our cities. He's acting tough on the people that disagree with him like a crybaby.
Within the confines of our country that lie and steal and cheat on elections.
This rhetoric is dangerously familiar, and voters should heed the warning.